What's up, grinders? So today we're going to be reviewing another shit YouTuber. This time we're going to be looking at Evildea, how to speak Esperanto naturally. This is a 9-year-old video. Now, you might be wondering why the hell am I reviewing a video from my own channel, and I am also wondering that. It's because in my Discord channel, I have a section for reviews where people can post videos they want me to review. Do you know how many times my own videos have been posted there for people asking me to review them? So I'm finally going to do it. But I just want to say one thing. I remember 9 years ago I was a slightly different man, okay? Please don't judge me too harshly, because I'm going to have to judge me. Here we go.
What's up, guys? Evildea here, your god, and today I want to...
Okay, let me explain something going on here, okay? That's a great screenshot. 9 years ago, I was a little bit more of an energy-filled YouTuber, as is evident right here. And I had a massive gap between my front teeth, which I don't have anymore. But I probably watched too much Markiplier. I think I was like a pretty big fan of Markiplier at the time, and it probably rubbed off on my YouTube game. In fact, I didn't really have any YouTube game, but like, this was probably the only video I really made in English back then. Most of them were in Esperanto, but yeah.
Focus on a topic I get asked quite a bit by people who see my channel once here
Oh, that's right. I used to add music. God damn, that music sucks.
and there, and I figured, you know what, I will make a video blog
And why am I so zoomed in? Like, I literally don't have a freaking forehead.
on this, and then I can just shove it in their face when they come to me. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not that violent, or maybe I am.
I still do that laugh from time to time.
Okay, so the topic is, how can you speak Esperanto, or really any language, but how can you speak Esperanto fluently, clearly, and without too much hesitation, without stuttering?
This is going to actually be quite fascinating in a way, and goddamn, I hate that music. Because, obviously, 9 years ago, I considered myself fluent. It's been 9 years. I've obviously used Esperanto a lot since then.
While speaking. So for instance, a lot of people, they'll learn the language, they'll learn all the grammar, they'll learn a lot of words, or at least a good selection of words, and then when they go to speak the language, you'll be like, blah blah blah, oh yeah, blah blah blah, and it'll be like lots of stop and starting, and you can see them physically turning words over in their head. Now the way you defeat that, or the way I found to
The guy's 100% on point at the moment.
defeat it anyway, is in the most simplest term is that you
He's also a really good looking guy, have you noticed that? Like, look at that jawline, man.
need to know how to say everything and every type of context before you actually have to say it. So what does that mean? So for instance, let's say that you wanted to say, you walk to the shop while smoking a cigarette, for instance. Vi idas alla butico fumante cigaretton. So you notice there I just used ante while also using a normal present tense verb. Now a lot of people will stutter when they try to use that because they'll be like, wow, this is like trying to figure out how it all fits together within a sentence type of thing. But it's actually quite easy once you know how to approach this type of thing. So what I said is you need to be able to say
Okay, I'm pretty sure what I'm going to talk about is something I actually talk about all the time on this channel, and that's basically where you need to learn like actual sentence structures, like entire structures.
everything in context before you actually have to say it. So you see this dictionary I have right here, okay? Filled with literally thousands of Esperanto words. What I will do every day is I use, you know, your basic flashcard program, doesn't matter what program, and I'll select one word from that dictionary every single day because I don't have that much time. And let's say the verb for today is, look, let's just open up randomly, okay?
Okay, so I'm focusing on verbs, cool.
So the verb for today is, no, I'm not going to use that one. You wouldn't want me to use that one.
Now I want to know what that verb was. I can't remember for the life of me.
Come on, there's got to be a word around here I can use. Water, okay. So, the word for water, as we know, is
It's not a verb, you friggin' idiot.
akvol. And a lot of people, this is where they make the mistake. They'll put water into their flashcard program, and they'll practice water, and then that's it. No, it doesn't work like that. What you need to do is you need to practice water in context. So you
Okay, yep, that's a good call.
need to put water in your flashcard program by itself. Then you need to put water as a noun in there, within context.
Water is a noun, you frickin' idiot.
context within a sentence, then you need to put it as an adverb, but you need to put it as an adjective, all within sentences.
Okay, what I'm probably getting at here is because in Esperanto you can swap the endings of words to turn them from adjectives to nouns, etc., etc.
Multiple sentences, say 3 sentences with water somewhere in that sentence, okay? And then you also need to put it in with, say, when you're watering something, when it's
Okay, so that's what I meant by water being a verb. Okay.
waterborne, or when it's a water bottle, or when it's watercolor, or when it's a waterfront. You know, all these possible variations of the actual word itself in all the different contexts. You need to take every single possible variation that you would use, obviously not every single word in the world, but every variation that you'd use of that word within at least 3 different sentences, and shove them all in there. Now, literally.
Okay, so my thinking around this has changed a bit since then. Obviously, I've evolved and I've learned other languages, etc. So you could see basically this was the foundations of my ideas back then. I was using only 3 sentences at that stage. I don't think 3 sentences is enough if you're going to go through like using Anki to learn things. I reckon a minimum of 6 sentences, but realistically you want to put enough in there that could, for you, but realistically, you want to put enough in there that allows you to actually fully understand this word in most of its contexts. And I was kind of onto something there where I said, you know, you want to grab a verb, and then I don't know why I just decided to go off and pick a noun or something, maybe because I looked at it as to water. But you basically only really want to do this for verbs in a lot of cases. So for individual nouns, you can learn them generally in context. And it's the same with adjectives to a degree, adverbs to a degree, but like specifically verbs, they're the ones that can mess you around pretty much any language. And if you create entire sentence structures that contain them, then you'll be able to see these used correctly for that entire sentence structure. So you'll know how it needs to conjugate, you'll know if it needs to sit in a certain location, if it needs to take on certain case markings, gender, all that type of stuff.
One word, say water, you might put in there 40 different sentences into your program. That's a lot of sentences, I know that.
Yeah, so I did go pretty hardcore when I was doing this for Esperanto because, like, even though I said I didn't have much time then, I actually had more time realistically than I do now type of thing. So I've kind of focused down, lasered down onto basically just really needing to do verbs because everything else can be learnt along with the verbs.
But practice those, and guess what will happen? You will actually be able to use those words in context correctly. You won't be thinking, okay, this is an adjective, I've got to swap it to this. Okay, now it's in this context, I've got to do this.
So yeah, basically what I was on about at that point is if you practice these structures before you ever actually need to use them, then when you finally do need to use them, they're going to come out more naturally. So if you take my cigarette example at the beginning where I said I'm going to the shop while smoking a cigarette, there's a certain structure there, which is I'm going to place while doing verb. And if you just swap out like a different verb each time, so I'm going to the shop while smoking, I'm going to the shop while eating, I'm going to the shop while drinking, you know, you'll start to figure out that there's this general structure that underlays this entire sentence, and that will help your brain subconsciously latch onto that pattern.
Because your brain will just naturally just roll through those sentences that you've learnt. And that's how I got to where I am now. That's how I can...
You know, the crazy thing is, at this time, this was my thinking, and then after this, I remember I started learning other languages and I was like, maybe, you know, for different languages, I've got to use different methods. And for example, I think I started Chinese after this. I started like watching lots of polyglot videos where they were coming up with all these like crazy ideas about how to learn languages and stuff. And I tried applying all these techniques and I literally lost like a year of my time trying these random ideas. A lot of them I've critiqued on this channel through other video reviews. And in the end, I came back to this, because this is what seemed to work for me, and it allowed me to actually make progress every day. Now, I often talk about this specific methodology on this YouTube channel, and like for me, it's great. But I also do want to stress that this is a method that works great for me, and it has helped tons of people who have watched my channel, and I've got a specific video where I go into real depth about this method, and it's called The Grind. So just check that video out on my channel. But at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy this, if you don't like flashcard programs, if you don't, want to do this at all in any way, shape, or form, that's fine. It doesn't mean you're not going to learn the language. You just need to find something that allows you to practice the language actively every day. And in fact, you could do this for a while until you get bored of it, try a different method, and then come back. Like, I've swapped many different methods over the years, and realistically, at the end of the day, the only thing that's helped me make real, actual progress in a language is actually just doing it. Like, just doing something with the language.
I can speak the language how I do now. That's why obviously sometimes I drop the accusative, but that's how I learnt the accusative case correctly. I actually built literally hundreds of sentences in context and then put them
I'm pretty sure, like, if you accumulated all my Esperanto card sentences I made over the years, I've deleted my decks like friggin' 10 times plus, so I don't have them. But I would have probably accumulated something like 30,000 sentences in card form, like, over the span of my Esperanto, like, speaking life.
Straight into my program, and I just practiced them over and over and over. Now, obviously, you've got to get a good Flash program that only picks a certain amount of random words per day based on how well you evaluate yourself, and then it will go through, and as you get better, obviously those ones will disappear from the front. As you get worse, for like particular ones, they'll come back to the front. But the good thing is, you will start using every single possible variation of that word in context. Now, you can imagine that eventually your flashcard program is going to have like 10,000, 20,000.
I say imagine there, but this actually happened. Even my Chinese one got up to like 5,000 at one point.
Variations, okay. I don't even have my original flashcard ones that I use because I deleted them years ago. But my newest ones, they've got a couple of hundred variations here and there. And every now and then I accidentally delete them or something. But it doesn't matter because I've already ingrained certain words and
this is like something a lot of people get hung up on Anki about. Like, they'll start that whole streak thing where they'll have, every day they've done Anki and they'll show the picture, and it even happens in my Discord. One thing I do want to say here is Anki is a tool, okay? And it shouldn't be like the thing that motivates you to move forward, because eventually you might want to do a big cleanup of your Anki and maybe even just destroy an entire deck, because everything in there realistically you've learnt and you're just getting reviews for stuff that you don't need. So it's good just to start afresh every now and then.
Stuff. But let's say I come across a word that I'll be speaking with Kaya or I'll be speaking with myself, and I get stuck and I'm like, what is this? How do I use this? Or even like a grammar form, for instance. Like a couple of months ago, I wanted to practice saying percent of energy, okay? So because that's something you got to say in gaming all the time. So 50% of energy. So say, kvindek procentoj da energio. So I wanted to get the plural with the da, with the numbers all working. So I literally put in from 0 to 100 all the percentage ranges, okay?
I do remember doing that, but that did help me massively.
You don't have to go that crazy, that's just me. I just slapped them all in there, and then every now and then it will randomly pop up with 1%, say 61% of energy, and I'll just be like, 61% da energia. And the reason being is because I've practiced all those variations of that word, okay? And that's particularly handy if you want to learn grammar forms.
Also, this is probably something that you want to do with like the most frequent verbs in the language. And when I say frequent, I don't mean go find like a frequency list. I mean the ones that you're coming across and using on a daily basis.
Like the particles and stuff like that, like ante and inte and onte and stuff like that. Because those you have to practice in.
This is actually something that's really good for like really complex grammatical forms that definitely don't follow, like, say, an English format. Like, I used this to actually get better at using ba in Chinese, and ba is essentially like an accusative case almost, but it's like an individual standalone word that goes before the object. And it's not used in all cases, it's only used when you want to rearrange and add emphasis to the sentence type of thing. So I used it for that as well, but you can also use it for pretty much any complex form. For like simple forms and stuff, there's really no point putting this stuff into Anki, you'll pick it up in context. But for like complex structures, this is where Anki can really shine. If you put in like a really complex structure and you put in many variants of that complex structure, and by variants I mean just swapping out nouns and verbs, well, nouns, verbs, adjectives, all the internals, but keeping the underlying structure intact.
context in order to be able to use them correctly. Things like the accusative for an English speaker, that's definitely something you want to practice in context a lot. What other things you've got?
It's so funny now, like I'm stressing the accusative here, and I remember around this time frame or sometime before it, like the accusative was a big struggle for me for quite a long time. And I don't even think about it nowadays. It's just like, it just sounds weird if it doesn't come into play. Like if I say something and I don't put the accusative there, I'm like, or I don't hear it there, it literally sounds like something's wrong with the language. So it's really interesting how your brain just adapts to these things and then has the expectation just there, which I guess is what fluency and almost native level would be, is that like if something sounds weird, it's generally wrong. And the same thing happens with a second language when you get so good at it. Eventually things just sound wrong, and you may even forget the underlying rules that govern those things, but you just know if it's wrong because it sounds wrong.
Like da and de. Halfway through a conversation for an English speaker, we'll be like, is this da or de? And then you'll think about it and you go, well, it's a quantity, okay, so it's da, and then you'll continue on. You don't want to do that in a conversation. So literally, whenever you get that little bit of, which one should I use? Find out the correct use, slap it in your card program, in your flashcard program, then practice.
Yeah, so if you find yourself stumbling over certain structures all the time, then yeah, definitely this is a situation where you want to create cards for it.
Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you don't even think about it anymore. Literally right now, people ask me grammar questions, and some of the times I can't respond. I don't know what the technical reason is for.
The funny thing is, I've been speaking Esperanto for so long now, and at this time I believe I was actually teaching it actively, that I'm now at a point where most of the time I cannot explain the grammar rule that's in play. For basic stuff I can, but like for really complex things, I'll be like, no, I just know it's this way. Like, this is just how it is. I just know this, you know? And then, like, if someone asks me, like, yeah, but what's the rule behind it? I'll have to go find a grammar guide and just give them a link. And then once I reread it, I'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I remember that now, type of thing. But it's like, it's at the point where the rules are completely gone in a lot of instances for me, but the language remains.
Doing it that way. I just know that's the correct way to do it because that's how I practiced it so long ago, and obviously I learned the correct way originally, and now it's just ingrained. That's the best way to do it. Now obviously that is a ton of work, but
you know, there's one extra thing I want to add to this. So I made this video, I think it was 6 years ago or more. Was it 9? Can't remember. Anyway, I made it that long ago, and at the time I considered myself fluent, and I was. But the funny thing is, there's like 9 years have passed, and I remember like every now and then someone will link me videos from back then, like my own videos, and I'll look at them and I'll be like, bro, your Esperanto is not fluent. Like, even though it is fluent to people, it's just like I can hear all the own issues in my own language. So realistically, fluency is something you're going to be chasing for pretty much ever. At least that's my opinion. Like, you're always going to be chasing that. And it's just something you should accept. Like, it's basically, you'll learn the language at the beginning, you'll get some speed, then you'll like plateau out at the intermediate for a while, and then you hit this point where, oh my god, I'm fluent, because you're able to talk to people on the street about everyday conversations, you know, everyday topics, maybe even deep dive into stuff. But then there's like this tail end where it's just a really slow process over a very, very long time where you're just getting deeper and deeper, but you don't notice these like gains because they're just so small, or at least they feel so small because they target such niche and small areas of the language.
But if you want to speak a language fluently without having to stop and start and have all these issues along the way, that is the best way to do it.
And the funny thing is, I'm talking here about Esperanto, okay? Now, Esperanto is a very easy language, relatively. Like, we're talking about learning languages here. It's still a difficult task. But it's an easy language to learn. However, it's like any language, it's not an easy language to master. Like, you can get to like an intermediate, you know, even like I'd say like daily conversational level quite quickly without too many issues. And quickly, I mean like, you know, a year and a half type of thing. I know there's people who like say, oh yeah, I'm fluent within 6 months, and some say it within 3 months with Esperanto, but realistically they're not. They can talk about like the most basic everyday conversations type of stuff, but if you start talking about politics, they're gone type of thing. But it's still like any other language out there where mastery actually takes probably decades. Like, you will be at it for a very long time.
If you don't live within the environment, I don't live in an Esperanto environment. Every now and then I'll meet up with Kaya, and that's the way I do it. Everyone else has got their own way, but I just wanted to make this video to focus on that.
I'm glad even back then I was saying everyone's got their own way. So I'm not like a shit guy who then changed his ways. I was just originally an okay guy, I guess.
Way, so you understand how much work it really is to become fluent in a spoken language, because this is an issue or a mistake a lot of people say when they talk to others about Esperanto. They say, oh, it's the easiest language in the world, you can learn it in like 3 months. Yeah, sure.
I've still got the same thinking. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Grammar, fine, you can learn in 3 months. The words you can learn in 3 months. But getting up, speaking the language, that's different. In order to speak fluently, without hesitation, without thinking about it, you need to practice just as much as any language. The only difference is you get to the point where you know everything, and then you just need to practice it 10 times faster than any other language. You still need to practice the hell out of it to get fluent and without any issue, just letting those words just roll out of your mouth. Anyway, that is it. If you've liked this video, give it a like, share it around to your friends, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. And
you know what? You may have noticed at the end of my videos, I still threaten people. Let's see what the threat was back then.
You're not there. I will practice the many ways to hunt you down and do bad things to you.
Okay, that's enough. No, I've had enough. I can't deal with that. So overall, I'd say this is a good video. It's going to go into the good advice section. I'm not biased in any way whatsoever. This guy clearly knows what he's on about, and I highly recommend you go and sub to his channel. His channel's called Evildea. And I'll see you all in the next video. And if you're not there, I will make you watch more videos from my past. Okay, you know, one last thing I do want to say is, being a YouTuber who's done videos over a period of like, I don't know, 15 years now, the bad part about it is everything is online. Every, like, embarrassing little moment is there, and there's someone from your past who remembers it. Hey, you know what? Shout out in the comments if you followed me since then, or maybe even just tell me when you followed me. Like, I think I made my first video back in 2011, or something crazy like that, and I'll see you all next video.